Speaking of the quarterback, Sam Donald, so we'll move into our next segment where we'll break down all the quarterbacks that were drafted, well, the top 8 quarterbacks that were drafted in the 2020 draft. We'll quickly kind of give you what we feel it will be in the NFL, give you a little bit more of a scouting report on what these players are, give you a little bit more information on what to expect from these young talents when they get into the NFL. So quickly, before I kind of preference this segment, I feel like all quarterback success are predicated on these 3 things. These 3 things that all quarterback success comes from. Number 1, I think it's coaching. So it's either you have an elite offensive head coach or you have an elite offensive coordinator. Every great quarterback has had this. Whether that's Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, they all had either an elite offensive head coach or an elite offensive coordinator. All have had this. Moving into number 2, resources. Resources meaning a top-tier offensive line, a top-tier rushing game, or a top-tier pass catchers. Every great quarterback has a combination of these 3. Now, you might not have the running game, you might have great pass catchers, a good offensive line, or you might have a great running game and a good offensive line, or a good running game and great wide receivers. You have a combination of these 3. If they don't have any of these 3s, they will not be successful. Period. Number 3, experience. All elite quarterbacks all have had 3 years of high-level play at NCAA or in their first 2 years in college, in the NFL. So it's either 3 years entering their 3rd year into the NFL. They either have a combination of 3 years in NCAA or in their first 2 years in the NFL. By the 3rd year in the NFL, they have had to have 3 years of high-level play or they will not be a great quarterback. So these 3 things, now I'll bring them all together one last time. Keys to quarterback successes. All elite quarterbacks, all of the greats have had all of these things. Coaching, resources, and experience. Experience at success at the quarterback position.
Oh, and accuracy. I feel like accuracy is one of the things I always keep hearing is can't be taught.
Correct.
So like if you're inaccurate, you don't get more accurate when you get to college.
That's a big thing as far as like accuracy.
That's what I always
hear. You do not improve it.
When I hear a GM or anybody talking and they don't bring up accuracy about the quarterback, that's what I feel like. Okay, you can see when they draft the players in the draft.
Correct. So now that we brought those in, now let's go over the quarterbacks for the 2020 NFL draft. Let's start off with the big guy, the big name, the one that's considered to have the greatest NFL or the NCAA year of all time. LSU quarterback Joe Burrow. Now, Joe Burrow had a great 2019 NCAA campaign. He seems to be very sharp. He's very similar to your prototypical quarterback. He's 6'4". He has the right size. He has a decent arm. What's your feelings on Joe Burrow?
I feel like Joe Burrow also, I feel like he can be a good game manager. I think we always have mentioned in a few years in the right situation, he can be a Tom Brady.
Okay.
However, or should I whatever? I feel like he does have I just feel like he doesn't a lot of analysts say. I shouldn't say I feel like that he doesn't have an actual NFL arm.
Okay.
Per se, because they say his accuracy is not necessarily off, but he does have the right timing. Knows how to he has great toughness and will, but that doesn't show everything to be a great quarterback.
Correct.
I feel like he does have great potential, as far as a team player.
Okay.
But I feel like it depends on which team he's in, and I feel like a franchise needing a starter upper. I feel like you're gonna get the same thing as what you got out of the dude from Washington.
Jacob Eason?
No, Washington Redskins.
Dwayne Haskins.
Dwayne Haskins.
Okay.
You're gonna get that type of gameplay where you're gonna. It's not gonna. I feel like it may be a little bit more better than that, but it's the fact that Dwayne Haskins only had one real year in college.
Yeah, one down there.
So it's I feel like it may be something similar to that's what we may see out of Joe Burrow, at least his first year, at least his first few games. There's going to be some confusion. So I feel like in that LSU offense, when I heard that New Orleans Saints offensive coordinator was there.
Quarterback's coach, Joe Brady.
Yes, and he's the one that they pretty much said that they ran one simple play with different options.
Offensive coordinator, he became at LSU. passing coordinator game. He ran a version of the high rate offense.
Yes, so it's like it was very simple. Like I'm not saying it's simple, but I'm just saying that if it's I just want to see with a different playbook and a different type of situation how this all works out, especially in the team they're not known for like really winning.
Correct.
Yeah.
I agree with you. For me, I question if Joe Burrow will ever be as good as he's being projected to be.
Facts.
The reason I look at it is I look at the entire picture. He had 5 years in college, and we've seen him actually excel 1 year. He lost out to Dwayne Hatkins and got J.T. Barrett at Ohio State. J.T. Barrett has not become an NFL star as the quarterback position. Dwayne Hatkins had a very tough rookie season. He wasn't Baker Mayfield in his rookie year. He wasn't Kyler Murray in his rookie year. He wasn't even RG3 in his rookie year, or Andrew Luck. And if these are the players that like Joe Burrow lost to in college, I strongly struggle to think that he'll jump off as soon as he comes in the NFL and be a superstar from day one. When the players that we've seen day one excel, they dominated in college also. Baker Mayfield has the rookie record for touchdowns. He also dominated in college. Andrew Luck had an excellent rookie season. He also dominated in college. RG3 had one of the best rookie seasons ever. Dominated in college. We've never seen a player that struggled in college have a supreme rookie season. We've seen players like Mark Sanchez struggle in college, also struggle in the NFL. We've seen players like Blaine Gabbert struggle in college, also struggle in the NFL. Jake Locker struggled in college, struggled in the NFL. You don't really have somebody that dominated in college, but then was never able to, or somebody that struggled in college and was able to now dominate in the NFL. That just doesn't happen. And Joe Burrow, I get people saying he had arguably the greatest college season of all time, but when you dig into it, he had the Saints, who are one of the best offensive of the past 10 years. He had one of their offensive minds with him this year. He had the best wide receiver core in the entire nation, bar none. Arguably the best wide receiver core of all time in college. Of all time. Like, every last one of the offensive starters got picked up by an NFL team. 9 of them were drafted, 4 of them were signed within a week after the draft. He had an elite, not even elite, a historic offensive group with him. So it's like, we have to also take a look at that. Like, then we look at the other 3 years that he had in college. He didn't do well with lesser talent. So now when he gets in the NFL and the Bengals are not the most talented team in the NFL, what makes me think that he's going to jump and make them better when he couldn't for 3 years in college make offensive teams better?
Like he'll pretty much have like Hankins, not even Hankins, Daniel Jones. Perfect. They'll have like a season, like, cause with Saquon Barkley, where you have a running back, like in that situation, you got Joe Mixon. Where it's like he's gonna have some good games. But
I would even say with Daniel Jones, if you look at him in college, he did well.
Oh,
and he did well with Duke. Not even a particularly.
But that's what I'm saying. So I'm like, it's like that's like it's like I don't.
So
like I feel like there's a lot of confidence on a player where I feel like in a few years we're gonna pretend like this isn't happening.
Exactly. We've seen this with a lot of players before. Even like
Jameis Winston. Lockyer, you just named it.
Or even say Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota a few years ago in 2015. Both of them are now no longer with their team. And when they were getting drafted, they were home runs. Mm-hmm. Like apparently Mariota was like a home run, one of the best college quarterbacks ever.
Can't go wrong.
Jameis Winston put up historic numbers in college. And even since he came in the NFL, he's put up numbers. So like
they were compared to the Luck and
RG3. And both of them now have been removed from the teams that drafted them. So the idea of home run quarterbacks, I don't think that's real. Like the Peyton Manning coming around, that's very rare. That's like winning the lottery.
But I feel like that's the problem. The problem is that people feel like it's all on offense. Like every team, like even when you speak about the LSU, the Joe Burrow, that defense got all drafted.
Oh, it's awesome. That was a supremely dominant team.
If your defense, your special teams do not play an elite level of type of play, you don't win them. So it's like when you put everything on the quarterback and say, "Oh, he won it." Like, yeah, like I said, he's a great team manager, great team player. He knows how to get the ball out when there's enough players. But when you put him where you're not sure if AJ Green is going to be AJ Green when he comes back, even if he does, you got Joe Mixon, then you got a suspect offensive line, no real tight ends, no real like. You got some wide receivers, but they're not like the most elite talent. And now you're playing against elite defenses that are not just playing basic defense. Most defenses in colleges don't play
complex defenses.
Complex defenses.
Yeah.
It's like what besides like with the 4 powerhouses.
Correct. Alabama,
Ohio, and LSU. I think they're the only like real ones that play like complex defenses. So
And also, I like to look at like comparisons and try to get historical context. So Baker Mayfield dominated in college, and when he got to the NFL, those Browns had a lot of talent on offense. A lot of talent on offense. Yet Baker Mayfield has the rookie record for passing touchdowns in his rookie year. But we also see, because Baker had all that talent, has Baker Mayfield now been able to do what he did in college? No, because the NFL is not the same as college. Like, if Baker Mayfield was able to get that same LSU team that Joe Burrow had, without a doubt, they would have been undefeated and he would have put up 60 touchdowns. But that's because now that same Baker Mayfield gets put with the Browns, who have a lot of offensive talent. Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, Landry, Odell Beckham, who was the tight end that got drafted, Njoku. Enormous offensive talent over there. But Baker Mayfield has not been able to replicate what he did in college, because this is the NFL. This is not college. So, and then Joe Burrow didn't do it for 4 years. Baker did it for at least 2 years. He dominated. And he also transferred also. But so the grades I give for Joe Burrow, coaching of the Bengals, I give that a C-, because Zach Taylor has not proven enough. If you look at last year with Andy Dalton, they only win 2 games. 2 games. That has to be put on the coach somehow. Like, coaching did not look well last year. Resources, I'm gonna give him a C+. Offensively, there's a lot of talent with the Bengals, but look at last year. Ryan Lindell, Andy Dalton, how well did that offense look? Now, we did have Joe Mixon. You still had Boyd. You still had Ross. They did not look great. So I'm gonna give the resources a C+. And experience.
They had Tyler Eifert.
Facts. And I'm gonna give experience a D+. Joe Burrow only had 1 good year of college that we've actually seen. 1 year. So the fact that his experience, I can't give him a good grade on experience. He's not shown us for a long time that he's good at this. We have not seen it. So the comparison I give for Joe Burrow, I think he's Chad Pennington meets David Carr or Matt Leinart. My best comparison is a combination of David Carr and Matt Leinart. Matt Leinart had an amazing college career, but he also had amazing talent. Players like Reggie Bush was part of the offense that circled Matt Leinart. And when he got to the NFL, he was never able to make it happen with Arizona. Because Arizona, even though they had Larry Fitzgerald and Quan Bolden, he was not able to replicate what he did in college. David Carr, I feel, has a very similar situation with Joe Burrow, where David Carr had 2 good years at Fresno State. His last year put up 56 touchdowns, was put as the #1 pick, regardless of whatever the case it may be. Houston drafted him, and we saw what happened to David Carr. I feel like this might be very similar to what's going on with Joe Burrow. And if you look at David Carr's college career, you look at Joe Burrow's college career, very similar also. That's my way of breaking down Joe Burrow. Anything else you got on Joe Burrow?
No, that's it.
So let's move into number 2. Tua Tagovailoa. He was drafted 5th overall by the Miami Dolphins.
I feel like I feel like it works for them in the sense of they are a team that's rebuilding. He could work probably with that team. It could probably work for them because he don't necessarily have to start right away.
Correct.
They have they still got Josh Rosen, who they may or may not trade. They still got Ryan Fitzmagic that can who could probably still play a year or 2 if they needed him to. If they just really needed him to. But I don't think he'll need to play a year or 2. I feel like Tua would probably play this year. I feel like he's ready to play. I feel like he'll take that over. As far as him as a talent, I know a lot of people they like comparing to like Russell Wilson. I know why they do it.
I actually do.
Yeah, I see why they say it. It's similar. I feel like he's a talented player. I feel like he's gonna have a lot of growing pains. I don't feel like he's gonna step up as fast as everyone else thinks he is. I do see him as very talented. I feel like he can get the ball out, but I at the end of the day, no real quarterback has came out of Alabama. You want to go whatever, so that means that I'm just taking into consideration that they don't have the best quarterback advancement team.
Okay.
So I'm just going off my opinion here. So I feel like this is why I feel like it's good for him to go with a team with a veteran quarterback. So it's going to take him some time, but I feel like towards the end of the year, he may look like Kyler Murray in a sense.
Okay.
So
that's a great breakdown. I agree with a lot of those points. I do feel like he got drafted in a great situation. Like, the Miami was tanking for Tua, so the community already has an affection for him. They wanted him. they went out of their way to get him. I feel like they've actually put resources around him. Like I compare Tua to a combination of Mark Brunell, former Jaguars quarterback, and a combination of Russell Wilson, the Seahawks quarterback. I feel Tua is he's a legit playmaker, a lot like Russell Wilson, a legit playmaker. He's able to extend the pocket, make passes. He's really a true pocket passer, though. That's why I think he's more like Mark Brunell, left-handed, great accuracy, can make plays, though. But I feel like his career would be more projected like something like Phillip Rivers. I think like the way Phillip Rivers sat behind Drew Brees for 1 year, and that Chargers team was able to now take the next step when Phillip Rivers took over the next year. I see Miami being in that same situation where they're coming off of a past situation. They have a veteran in place, but Tua is clearly the guy. Yeah. I think Tua's career could be a lot like Phillip Rivers if they actually like put him in the same position, the same place. I can see them actually drafting a running back very high in the draft next year, and that being who Tua kind of, or even a Le'Veon Bell being traded to like the Dolphins, because it seems like the Jets don't necessarily want Le'Veon Bell. But I give the grades, I give the coaching side for Tua here with the Dolphins a B+, because the associate head coach is Jim Caldwell, who had Peyton Manning for years. He's a very good offensive mind, been around great quarterbacks. The fact that he's the associate head coach there with the Dolphins, I think is a big plus for Tua. The resource I give a C+. The Dolphins don't have an enormous amount of talent right now on the offensive side of the ball. And experience I give a B. Tua did nothing but dominate high school, college. He has several years of high-level performance in college. So that's why his experience is a B. That's my grades for it.
Sounds good.
Cool. So that would be for Tua. Let's move into number 3 on the 2020 NFL quarterbacks. We had Justin Herbert, the 6th pick of the draft to the Los Angeles Chargers. How do you feel about Mr. Justin Herbert? Yeah, very controversial player. Some felt like he could go as high as 1. Some people felt like he was not even a first-round pick.
I feel like Justin Herbert, when you watch him, is like it depends on how you watch his tape.
Okay.
So if you're watching highlights, it's a great pick. But if you watch the full game, it's an interesting pick. Especially when you go from a team like the Chargers. Like the Chargers, I feel like their draft was, as far as everything else, like I would make sense. Like, yeah, they do need a quarterback later on, something like that, but they probably should have went offensive lineman here. That probably would have been more of a better need than they needed anyway. With Justin Herbert, my thing with him is we named about quarterbacks is accuracy, and I feel like he lacks a lot of it. And especially when you watch his tapes, like it's like even when you hear when anybody speaks up, they say he'll make 1 or 2 great throws where you'd be like, wow, and it's like, yo, you know how long the game is? Like, how many attempts did you have out of 3 throws that were amazing? So it's like if I'm gonna see 3 out of 18 throws, I don't really want him as my starting quarterback. That's just my opinion. He's athletic, so he's almost like that Josh Allen type. Come from a small school, didn't really win. So I feel like, again, like this is a situation where I really don't know where this is going, especially with this organization. Like you have Tyrod Taylor in there, like he's already at 30, so I don't know if you actually bring him in here. I'm not sure if Tyrod is the most, like I don't even think Tyrod would be willing to coach somebody up at this point.
I think
this is the 4th time.
It's like the 4th time.
4th time he got this happen to him, so it's like so pretty much he's on his own really here. Phillip Rivers' season after Frank Reich and Nick Sirianni left that offense started to drop as far as numbers. So I don't even feel like this is a great offensive situation to even make him even get better. So I'm just saying the head coach is has a running back background. I'm not saying that he might not have capability of offensive or he doesn't have the right offensive players, but they weren't that good offensively last year. And I feel like Justin Herbert needs a lot of development, and I don't feel like they have the right pieces to develop.
I gotta agree with everything you said there, boy. Like I just felt like it was just a bad choice. It was a bad pick. Everything I look at from the tape of Justin Herbert, it doesn't show me enough consistency to be a top 10 prospect in any draft. Not enough consistency of success for the position. The other side, I look at it as he was a starter for over 3 years with Oregon. Oregon's a big name program. In the last few years, they've produced players like Marcus Mariota. And the fact that he didn't improve over 3 years in that program.
Did he beat any Mariota's records?
No.
Jesus.
So he didn't show that he was elite at that program, right? Now again, athletically, I hear people get very in love with his arm as a very powerful arm. And because of that, I will go into my pro comparisons. So I think he's a combination of former Denver Broncos draftee Patrick Lynch and former Raiders quarterback Jamarcus Russell. If you look at both of those players, Patrick Lynch is 6'6", Jamarcus Russell is 6'6". The both of them struggled with accuracy, but both had great physical gifts, great physical talents. I would say Herbert is somewhere in the in-between about the two of them, because Jamarcus Russell put up great numbers in college, was a great winner in college. Patrick Lynch was not that. But they similar size, similar arms, similar combines. I think Justin is a combination of the two. He can definitely be successful, but it would be more like Josh Allen. You got to put together a great offensive line, great defense, and give him the opportunity to just make plays. Because in terms of like his accuracy and his quarterback play, he's not good at that at this stage in his career. And if he's not good at that at this stage in his career, the chances of him catching that in the NFL is very slim to none. That's like Blaine Gabbert all over again.
Somebody's going to be catching the ball.
Like the best thing that I think of Justin Herbert right now is Blaine Gabbert. Big, athletic, didn't do well in college, but we think that somehow is going to translate into the NFL. How did it happen for Blaine Gabbert? We'll see. So for the coaching there, I give it a C+. Lynn is a very good coach, but I don't think he's necessarily a great coach. Resources, I give it a C-. The offense over there, they don't have Melvin Gordon anymore. The receivers there, they're good, but they also don't have Antonio Gates anymore. So the resource, I give a C-. Offensive line is struggling. Experience, I give a C+. Because he did play over 3 years in college, but he only had one great season, statistically speaking. His experience is still up and down in terms of successfully showing he can play the quarterback
His
position.
last 2 years was like fairly better than this was.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I feel like he had 1 year where he actually put up great numbers.
But then if you compare it to, like I said, the same school, Marcus Mariota, where he dominated all 3 years. It threw way less picks. Like, he ain't throw a lot of picks. Like, I think he threw like about 8 at the most, but he dominated all the years. And then I'm just saying.
So, and Mariota has not had the greatest NFL career. And if he
that's only because, not only, but that's mainly because that's not the right coaching situation, not right offense around him. So, just put that into picture what I can do for Justin Herbert. Everything's not perfect.
Speaking of situations, moving to number 4. We had Jordan Love got drafted by the Green Bay Packers, first round 26 pick overall.
This one right here is like literally, these 106 we were talking about earlier. This literally only works with Jordan Love.
Yes.
Only solely works with Jordan. Because he don't have to worry about playing this year or maybe next year. If he's lucky, he can learn as much as he can behind either Aaron Rodgers. If not, the head coach is an offensive-minded coach who would develop him no matter what because he drafted him.
Correct.
The guy shows potential. Like, he throws maybe 8 to 9 great balls per game compared to or a little bit more, but like you can see, like even also where like because his junior year he had a great season, but then the all offense switched up on him, and then he had a suspect season so you can see where it's like, okay, certain things have to be in the right situation. So for him, if it was in your grade, I don't know how you have coaching would probably be perfect. That's perfect.
I do have a bid for coaching.
But situation, I don't know. Because as far as a player, I did like as far as all the quarterbacks, I feel like he had he probably has one of the highest potential.
Okay.
Just because, but when I say that, he could probably have the highest fall.
Okay.
So it's like his is like really hit or miss.
Big boom or bust.
Yeah, he's like a real big boom bust. And not to take away from like the other players, I just think that like if he can really get it going, like just something about, I don't know, I could, but I really thought AJ McCarron was gonna be shit.
Okay.
But so I could be wrong, but whatever. But I can admit to it. But I feel like if he don't need that much of a great situation, I feel like where he is right now, I feel like he will be a dominant player soon. But I just feel a lot of things need to happen, and the first thing they need to do is if they trade Aaron Rodgers within the year, then that's the only way you can dominate.
This is what
it's gonna be too toxic with Aaron Rodgers. I feel like it's too toxic.
This is one of those absolutely weird situations.
Yeah,
like this is directly. This is one of those like we have to wait and see. Like they really tried to recreate the Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre situation right here. Like the idea that we could get a player that is a first round pick. We can stash him behind a legendary quarterback, and then we get another legendary quarterback. The hugest difference here is Aaron Rodgers was arguably he was being questioned to be the first pick in the draft. It was either him or Alex Smith.
Yeah, that's the difference.
And then Aaron Rodgers also dominated at Cal in college. He dominated. There wasn't a question about the question is was those numbers inflated? That was the question of Aaron Rodgers. Was his numbers in college inflated? Was he playing in a pass happy offense at Cal? Then we find out no. Aaron Rodgers really did have those skills. He really did have those gifts.
The thing about Aaron Rodgers that is funny because that's what I really realized when I started catching. But like in college, he has like one of the he has a few records for not throwing interceptions.
Correct.
What does he do in the NFL?
Not throwing interceptions.
So it's like, but then when you look at Jordan Love, it's like he wasn't that consistent every year, bro.
So I don't even think Jordan Love, like if we take all the numbers in place, we take all the quarterbacks that were played in college football last year, he is not a top 5 quarterback in college football last year. Statistically speaking, experience speaking, all things speaking, he is not that. So Aaron Rodgers was arguably the best quarterback in college his last year in college. And then he got to sit behind Brett Favre for 2 years. Not 1, 2 years. So I don't think Aaron Rodgers wants any guy that's going to take his job behind him for the next 2 years right now. So I really feel like this is a very questionable situation. Very questionable. This looks more like Phillip Rivers and Drew Brees with the Chargers, where it's like somebody got to go.
Yeah, somebody's got to go.
Somebody got to go.
But at least with I feel like in this situation, because I feel like I don't think it's probably the next week. They could have went with Jalen Hurts, which probably would have made more sense because all right, you could step in, but now you're really forcing Aaron Rodgers out.
Correct, because Jordan Love looks to me like he needs development.
He needs 3 years to me. To me, he needs 3 years. So that's why I feel like it's not so much a push on Aaron Rodgers. But then if it's not so much a push on Aaron Rodgers, that's why I see why you got the Green Bay Packers as a bad trap. Then you go running back.
Yeah, you trade up to get him for a player that you might not even hit on the field for the next 2 years.
You know what I'm saying?
So it's or even when he does make the field, he still needs time.
Is he better than Aaron Rodgers right now to you?
Nope. So I mean, for me, the comparison I give for Jordan Love, I think he's a combination of former Saints quarterback Michael Vick's cousin Aaron Brooks meets former Washington Redskins quarterback Jason Campbell. He has those kind of qualities where he's very reminiscent of Aaron Brooks, the former Saints quarterback, where he has a very good arm. He makes questionable throws, but he can make all the throws, and he's a good athlete. Very similar to Aaron Brooks, the way Aaron Brooks had grew into becoming a good quarterback. Was a late round pick, but grew into becoming a starter and had some good years with the Saints. That's what I see in Jordan Love, but the hope is he gets an opportunity. Green Bay actually does stand behind him and give him a real opportunity.
I think a good example for a person now, kind of reminds me of Trubisky. Whereas Trubisky can make all the throws. Okay. He has an arm. Okay. But the decision making is just you're not sure yet. So he's the same way. It's you're gonna see the same thing. You're not sure of decision making because he doesn't make the greatest ones. You can see him force something or just trying to do something that's not there.
Correct. And so we wish the best for him. I'm not sure how this is gonna work out. I feel like the best case scenario is Aaron Rodgers gets traded at the trade deadline. Jordan Love takes over. He has a semi-rookie season, and then next year he gets the full kind of chance to go, and he gets a chance to actually be a good quarterback with the full offense behind him, good offensive head coach. That's, I think, the best case scenario. Worst case scenario is Aaron Rodgers retires there in 3 years. You trade him before he even suits up for Green Bay, and he is a complete bust. So I think it's somewhere in between. You hope happens there, where they get some good years out of him. But I don't know. I just don't think it's a good choice at all. That was a bad pick in my mind. We'll see what happens, though. Best of luck for Jordan Love. Moving into number 5. Another highly questionable pick. A lot of people thought this was a suspect pick. Number 5, we got Jalen Hurts. Got drafted with the 53rd overall pick in the second round to the Philadelphia Eagles.
I actually feel like this pick right here solely for the. I feel like it works for them, and they're all and only for them in the sense of like, um, they have a player like I feel like they're utilizing the quarterback position as like teams that utilize the running back position, whereas like I can use them sometimes in a moderate. So like, is he going to get the greatest development? Maybe, maybe not. But in the sense of how it works for the Eagles, yeah, I think it works for them because now they get a player that can throw and run the ball at any given time, where you can switch up and you you can almost go without missing a beat in switching your offense up. So it's almost like taking the same situation but getting a more better player, because the same situation, or like any other team, like Antoine Randall situation where it could be a Wildcat with Clint Portis or Miami. When you get a player that actually can throw the ball, that's one thing we haven't really seen, a person that can actually like throw it. So I'm not sure if they're going to use him to throw. I know in Oklahoma, in red zone situations, all they did was make him run, and Eagles had a problem with scoring, so they may use him mainly for red zone situations where they can just have him running, scoring, and doing just to make sure they get in the end zone, because that was really the main problem. Because defensively, Eagles were pretty solid, just offensively they couldn't score, and they kept getting injury from major players. So I see how it works, but this development, little suspect for the quarterback. And I feel like he's a talented player, so I feel like he can make plays starting right away.
I agree. I felt like Hurts was probably the second best quarterback in this draft behind Tua. I felt like the Eagles got a steal in being able to acquire this kind of player. I'm just not sure how he fits though. I don't know where the best case scenario is on this. Like, because if Carson Wentz is to live up to who he is, Jalen Hurts never plays.
Yep. Really.
And if Carson Wentz gets hurt, and you're able to get Jalen Hurts, now this pick is 100% money. It's cash in the bank. Like you're able to prepare yourself and create the depth necessary for your team. But I don't know if that is good for Jalen Hurts. He could end up sitting for 2 years and never getting a chance to play. So it's like, I look at it like one of those kind of like boom or bust kind of picks. Not the player, but the pick. And my pro comparison for Jalen Hurts, I think he's a combination of Chargers quarterback Tyrod Taylor and former Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Cordell Stewart. To me, he's very similar to Cordell Stewart and Tyrod Taylor, where he can throw the ball, but he also can really run the ball. He's an efficient runner also, and he's an efficient playmaker. So he's a combination of both of them, and I feel like if he gets a chance to start, which I think he will eventually take over the job from Carson Wentz. I think he's set up to actually take over this team and be the next Donovan McNabb for Philadelphia. I just don't think Carson Wentz will ever be fully healthy. It just hasn't looked that way. And that's why I think this is a good pick. It's almost like I'm rooting for Carson Wentz to get hurt with this pick.
Yeah. It's kind of, yeah.
But as far as like the choice, I think it's a good pick. You know what I mean? I think the Eagles did the right thing here in getting him, and I think they got a good player. But it's just I don't know how this is gonna play out.
It might not. Yeah, like you said, like we talked about, like it might not work out for him.
Exactly.
Like, he's literally the only. Like I think it's a win-win for the Eagles.
Yes.
That's what I said. It's really an Eagles pick. Like it's really for them. For the player, it has to really work out in their favor.
Thanks. So moving into number 6, we had Jacob Eason, quarterback out of Washington. I got drafted by the Indianapolis Colts in the 4th round, 122nd pick overall. Now, I felt like this was actually the best choice of quarterbacks in this entire draft. I feel like he got the best situation. He made the most sense. He got drafted to the right situation. Shout out to Eason. Shout out to the Colts. Thought that was a great pick.
How I feel about it, I'm be biased as fuck. I wish it was fucking Alex Gordon. But as we said, but I feel like where it came down to, like it was Eason, Gordon. If you would probably go for it, it probably makes sense mainly. If you really think, because me, I'm just being biased. Like I said, AJ McCarron. He's a good player. I still think he is, but he still didn't do that. And I thought Josh Rosen was the most best accurate quarterback, but it still doesn't matter.
Poor Josh Rosen.
You know what I'm saying? But when you look at Jacob Eason as a team, like as far as what he did for his team, he was a leader on his team. He actually can play the game. Like he's played in bowl games. Like he's been competitive. And where they got him, they didn't even need to reach. And they didn't Joe Burrow reach. They didn't they didn't do none. They didn't like. They just fell to them where they can get them, and they got a whole bunch of players. And then when you get Philip Rivers, who signed a 1-year deal that could potentially be a 2-year deal, you don't necessarily need Jacob Eason starting. And even if he doesn't really start, I feel like they still have. I know the media don't, but they still have faith in Jacoby Brissett.
Yes.
And they feel like, you know what, like maybe he can't be like that superstar, but like I said, I think I spoke here. I told you a lot, but the reason the Eagles won the playoff Super Bowl was because of Nick Foles, and I feel like Jacoby Brissett could be a Nick Foles. Just like Jacob Eason got that.
Yeah.
And I feel like these are like players who they pick, and like I feel like they feel like, you know what, we're gonna surround decent players with talent. And I realized they realized that, hey, at the same time they gave the game to Jacoby. Like you been in the league for 3+ years. Like Kyler Murray been in the league 1 year. You know what I'm saying? Like he had a better season. So you still got to put that in comparison. Like, you might like the player, but you still got to put competition. Philip Rivers ain't gonna be here forever.
Thanks.
Unlike where like a team like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers who don't draft a quarterback. Where it's like, I don't know why we didn't bring them in. We let them alone. Man. Oh,
I mean, they
had a good draft.
They got Turson Wentz first round. They got Antonio Winfield safety, and I will say that they also did sign Blaine Gabbert to back up Tom Brady. So I'm not gonna hate them for that.
But you know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's what I said. Yeah. But I feel like Jacob Eason himself, as far as a talent, as far as a quarterback, I feel like he's fairly accurate. Obviously, he's going to need more coaching. I feel like that's why it works. I feel like it's a perfect fit because he gets to sit back and learn from a person who, and he's not like, he's low key a gunslinger. Like I see, like when they watch him, he likes to throw the ball. So he gets behind Philip Rivers, who's like almost like in the same talent. That probably might make him more wiser. You see him make suspect throws, but that's like I think that's going to happen. But then when they got fourth round. So I feel like that's a great solid. And even if he does not work out, that's a 4th round pick that you invested into. Where next year, if you feel like it's something in a year or two, you can get someone up. And you didn't lose nothing off of that. I feel like it's more of a game for everybody.
I completely agree.
And I feel like Jacob Eason was more upset because he was also told that he was a first, 2nd round pick. So I feel like he may have that whole chip in the shoulder type of feeling. So that might give him that whole extraness where it's like he thought he feel like he's better than where he got drafted. So that's even better. That's that whole fight.
I agree. I feel like Eason goes into one of the best situations out of all of these quarterbacks. I feel like the best pick out of all these quarterbacks in the draft. I feel like the way I graded it, coaching, I give it a B. Resources, I gave it an A-. Experience, I give it a C+ because he's done well. He's got to some bowl games. He just didn't dominate in college.
Yeah.
So
I think he transferred too.
He did.
Yes.
So him and I think Jake Fromm actually competed.
Yes. He played. He got hurt. Jake Fromm took the job. He lost. He left.
Correct. I think it's in Georgia.
Yes.
So for Eason though, my comparison for him is actually a combination of Nick Foles and former Ravens great Joe Flacco. He has a big arm. He makes plays. Like he doesn't mind throwing the ball for his receivers. Very similar to Nick Foles and Flacco, where he'll give his receivers a chance to make a catch. He will make plays, but he's also fairly accurate, like a Nick Foles. He's smart enough to know where the ball needs to go. He's just not that athletic, and that's why it's comparable to Nick Foles and Joe Flacco. He's not that athletic, but he has a pretty good arm. He's a big guy. He's over 6'4", and I feel like Philip Rivers might be the perfect mentor for him. He might end up being the perfect player in the perfect situation. I can see him taking this over in a year, maybe even 2 years, and becoming a 6-year starter for the Colts and possibly getting them to a Super Bowl. That's where, or even if Philip Rivers gets them to a Super Bowl this year and they retire, I feel Eason could take this team to similar heights after Rivers retires. So this was a great pick for me. Moving into number 7, also in the 4th round, 125th pick, we had the New York Jets select quarterback James Morgan. I thought this was a bad choice. I thought it was a bad pick.
Yeah, we had a whole bunch of questionables. This one literally just goes as bad.
I mean, I'm not knocking James Morgan, the player, but it's like there was other quarterbacks that had better college careers available at the time. And the Jets, the New York Football Jets, they already have their young quarterback in Sam Darnold. So I just didn't understand. You would probably want a veteran to back him up. You wouldn't want a project because everybody thinks that James Morgan is, at best, will be a career backup. At best. But, I mean, he does have a lot of talent. He has one of the bigger arms in this draft. So the pro comp I gave him is between Ryan Lindley, who was a 6th-round pick of the Arizona Cardinals in 2012, and a combination between Jeff Hostetler, who who was a 1984 third-round pick for the New York Giants. Many remember him actually starting a lot of games for the Giants in the 80s. When the starter got hurt, he became almost a fan favorite. James Morgan has a very similar college career to Jeff Hostetler. So again, you young fans that don't know who he is, look him up. Played with the Giants in the 80s, early 90s. Jeff Hostetler. Okay? So for James Morgan, that would be the best that could happen for the Jets. Sam Darnold gets hurt. James Morgan comes in and he wins a couple games. He shows off the big arm. That's the best that could come out of this pick. So when you think of that, this is a bad choice. They could have went with an offensive lineman here. We know the Jets are deficient in offensive weaponry. They could have got a running back or a wide receiver right here. They did none of those. They went and got another quarterback who, if the team goes well for the Jets next year, he never plays. Therefore, this is not a good choice. How do you feel about James Morgan?
I probably 100% agree with you in the sense of, yeah, he has a great arm. Like, that's pretty much what I can see him. I watch a few of his games. I watch mainly of his Senior Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
You can see that where he was not comfortable with the wide receivers, so the timing was really off.
Okay.
So as far as a quarterback, and then when you go to the Jets, I feel like if you're gonna draft a quarterback after drafting a quarterback 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I'm trying to remember a second.
2 years ago.
2 years ago, you would get someone that you feel that's probably going to be more competitive in a situation. I don't feel like James Morgan really threatened Sam Darnold, and that's not to put Sam Darnold on a high pedestal. I don't feel like it's a big comparison. It's like putting a B minus against a D. Okay. So it's like, or C plus against a D in a sense. So I'll give him that much. I don't even give him a B minus. I'll give him a C plus. Because whatever. But it just still at the same time, I just feel like it's a bad decision. Mm-hmm. I feel like I agree with you. Like, if you're gonna go quarterback, you go vet. Why would you go with another young player, especially when you're a team that's drafting so far,
and then it's
so
early? Sign Joe Flacco.
Yeah. So if you're going to a team where it's like, all right, your offense was struggling, so you go aggressive, you go off season, go to offensive lineman, then you draft the offensive lineman, and then you lose your wide receiver. You don't have no like offensive threat. You get one wide receiver, then you go back to quarterback. It's like only one quarterback can play at a time. If there's a lot of struggles in your team, and then like I went and said, like defense, you went and drafted a free safety, so it's like the quarterback really doesn't make sense. None way in the Jets situation. You needed so much more before quarterback that type of play that you picked didn't even make sense. I'm gonna still go by it. Come on, Alex Gordon, and I still would have not agreed with it.
That's right.
Even though I think he could have probably compete, but
even Jake Fromm might have been a better quarterback in his position.
So yeah, I agree. I feel like this is a bad pick. Doesn't make sense.
Completely agree. Hope the best for James Morgan, but
you did him a good favor for getting drafted, but you don't really help him out
at all. So moving into the 8th and the final quarterback, when we break down of the 2020 NFL Draft, we have no other than Jake Fromm, not from State Farm, from the 5th round, 167th overall pick to the Buffalo Bills. I thought this was actually a good pick.
Jake Fromm to the Buffalo Bills?
5th round, 167th pick. Jake Fromm, I thought, reminded me a lot of Tom Brady in college. The pro comparison I gave for Jake Fromm is a combination of A.J. McCarron, former Alabama quarterback, and Tom Brady. Now, you hear Tom Brady, you think that I'm saying that he's going to be the greatest quarterback ever. He's going to bring Super Bowls. No. If you look at Tom Brady in college, coming into the draft, he was called Comeback Tom, Captain Comeback. Jake Fromm has won a lot in college. He's won a lot of big games with Georgia. He beat out Jacob Easton in the competition there. And he makes plays. He's a winning quarterback. He's very similar to A.J. McCarron, who also did nothing but win in college. But Fromm doesn't have the biggest arm. He's not the most accurate quarterback, but he puts the ball where it needs to be. And he's a very solid quarterback. He makes the right decisions, a good decision maker. So I feel like he might actually have a better career than all the quarterbacks in this draft, just because he plays the position well at all points. He has a good arm. He recognizes defenses well. He's a winning quarterback. He has experience. He has good size. He has good pocket awareness. He has everything at a good level. Nothing great, but everything good. So if he gets an opportunity, he can actually have a better career than everybody else in this draft, in my opinion. Well, how do you feel about Mr. Jake Fromm?
I feel like Jake Fromm is he's like I feel like it's like I compare the same like Joe Burrow, which I feel like the same exact thing. He's a team player. He's nothing really great about him, nothing really bad about him. It's like his accuracy is like, like if you just, it's pretty much Joe Burrow. Like I feel like if he's in a great situation, he could win. And I feel like my only thing is I don't completely agree if that's like a comeback player as that much.
Honestly, I don't think it's a comeback. I'm just saying it's like
he
makes winning plays.
I guess. Yeah, I bet. Yeah, he don't make. I say he doesn't make losing mistakes.
There you go.
That's how I would give him. I wouldn't say he really makes so much winning plays. I see some plays where he could have made better, but like he doesn't really force the wrong play. So, but I just don't necessarily agree with the Buffalo because it's like where exactly you're going here. Because if you're a team that was a playoff team, you gave up a lot for a wide receiver. I'm thinking that you're going to the next level. Drafting another quarterback late round, even though it does make sense, in the sense that he's that late around and it's not really whatever, but I still think it don't really make that much sense unless you really don't trust in Josh Allen. Facts. So it feels like everyone that's in there who drafted Josh Allen, what's really going on?
Facts.
So that's the only thing I have a question about as far as like, yeah, I think he can compete with Josh Allen. That's really a problem, though. So like, I think he can like really like in a sense take the job from him if he really can, because I feel like after this year, like even though the situation, I feel like Buffalo's really gonna like, because if everyone knows, like after the first year when teams really got film on you, now they study how you play.
I agree.
If Josh Allen does not come with a better game plan, then I see how this pick makes sense. If he really becomes a bust, or how we see how Justin Herbert could be, like where he's like he makes certain good plays, but once you can stop those plays, he don't make no more plays. I'm just saying, yeah. But it's an interesting pick, so I feel like it's up in there to me.
Agree. So that's a breakdown of the 2020 NFL Draft top quarterbacks. Any arguments or any criticism you feel like we said something that you don't agree with, please drop in the comment section. We would love to kind of debate with you, see what everybody's feeling.
And tell you how wrong you are.
So let's move into the next segment. We'll break down